What if everything you thought you knew about zombies was, well, fundamentally wrong? Not in a pop culture sense,
right,
but from a deeply theological perspective.
That's an interesting angle.
Yeah, today we're diving into some really intriguing sources that tackle this very question. How 3 major world religions, Islam, Christianity, and Hinduism, actually view the concept of zombies.
Okay.
And here's the initial surprise, like right off the bat. Based on their theology, a zombie is definitively not considered human.
Right. That's our mission for this deep dive, to really unpack why. Why do these traditions draw such a stark, almost, unshakable line?
Exactly.
We'll explore their unique concepts of body, soul, resurrection, and maybe even pull in some fascinating folklore like succubi and incubi just to highlight the distinctions.
Okay, let's unpack this then, because it gets really interesting when you look at how these ancient beliefs sort of collide with modern horror tropes.
It really does.
The core discrepancy we're looking at is that the concept of reanimation in these religions is just profoundly different from their fictional portrayal of zombies. It's not just a subtle difference, is it?
No, not at all. It's a categorical rejection, really. The foundational difference truly lies in purpose and divine will.
Purpose and divine will.
A zombie, as it's portrayed, in movies and TV, it's pretty much the antithesis to that.
So let's start with Islam. Our sources tell us that the human body is viewed as a temporary vessel for the soul, or ruh.
Correct. The ruh.
Now, when we talk about reanimation in Islam, it's not some random magical occurrence, right? It's tied to a very specific monumental event.
Exactly. The definitive act of reanimation in Islam is the resurrection, the one that will occur on the Day of Judgment.
Oh, okay.
And this isn't just like a life force returning randomly. The ruh, which is often translated as soul or spirit, it's deeply tied to consciousness, identity, moral accountability.
Things a zombie definitely doesn't have.
Completely absent in the typical zombie narrative, yeah. It's described in the Quran as a miraculous, divinely willed act. God restores the deceased's body and soul to life for a final reckoning.
Body and soul together.
Both. And there are key verses that specifically emphasize God's power to reassemble even scattered bones. It's like a direct refutation of any doubt about physical resurrection.
Wow.
So what's truly fascinating here is how Islam's emphasis on divine will and purpose just utterly negates the random, profane nature of a zombie.
It makes it impossible almost.
For a true Muslim, the idea of a zombie apocalypse as depicted in modern media isn't just horrific, it's fundamentally theologically impossible in the way it's shown.
Because it lacks that divine spark.
Precisely.
Yeah.
A zombie lacking ruh and moral agency is simply a soulless, mindless corpse reanimated by some profane force, maybe a virus, maybe magic in fiction. It's not a human being, period.
That distinction between a divine purposeful act and a random profane one is so clear there. Okay, moving on to Christianity. The sources point to the resurrection of the dead as, again, a pivotal event. Yes, central.
It's taught that a person is a unified being of body and soul. How does death and reanimation play out there, especially when thinking about what a zombie actually is?
Well, upon death, the Christian understanding is that the soul separates from the body.
Okay.
It's not until the final resurrection that the body and soul are reunited. And crucially, they're reunited in a glorified, imperishable state.
Glorified and imperishable, so not decaying.
Exactly. This isn't just coming back to life as you were. It's a transformation, a perfected state, free from decay and sin.
Right.
So a zombie, being essentially a dead, decaying body without a soul, it's considered a grotesque mockery of God's act of resurrection.
A mockery. Yeah, I can see that.
It completely lacks the divine purpose and spiritual integrity of a true resurrected body. It's almost an insult to the sacred act.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. The sources mention Lazarus. Jesus brought him back to life, right?
Correct. A famous miracle. But Lazarus was fully restored, he wasn't mindless, and he eventually died again. So how does Lazarus, a biblical figure, literally right back from the dead, not fit the zombie mold in this theological framework?
That's a great question.
What does that tell us about the nature of a true resurrection versus, what we see in fiction?
Well, it tells us everything, really. Lazarus' return to life was a complete restoration, an act of divine power with a clear, benevolent purpose.
He was himself again?
Fully himself, a whole person. And his reanimation served a spiritual lesson, not some mindless hunger. Plus, it was temporary. He experienced death again later.
Right, that's key too.
This sharply contrasts with the fictional zombie, which is usually presented as this permanent, soulless, mindless entity without any divine intent or spiritual integrity. It's really the difference between a miracle and a monstrosity.
That's such a powerful contrast. Very clear. So different. Okay,
Yeah.
now let's shift gears a bit to Hinduism. Here, the core belief in reincarnation offers a very distinct argument against the concept of, well, the walking dead.
Indeed, it does. Hinduism's concept of the soul, the Atman, is absolutely central here.
The Atman.
The Atman is considered eternal and imperishable. It's the true self, beyond the physical body.
Okay.
Upon death, the Atman leaves the physical body. It's then reborn into a new life form, and that new form is determined by its karma.
Karma dictates the next life.
Exactly. And the old body, as the sources eloquently put it, it's merely a discarded garment.
Like old clothes.
Just like old clothes. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, the very concept of the Atman fundamentally prevents the idea of a soulless body walking around.
Because the essence isn't there anymore.
Because the spiritual essence, the Atman, has already moved on. It's not just that it moves on. It means the very fabric of existence, the cosmic cycle itself, would have to fundamentally break for a soulless body to persist as a being in any meaningful sense.
So a reanimated corpse.
It would simply be an empty vessel, a shell without the Atman. It would be an aberration, a physical object with no spiritual essence, a complete break from the natural cosmic cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. It just cannot be a person.
It's fascinating how each tradition, through its unique understanding of the soul and divine purpose, completely sidelines the zombie as a human entity.
Yeah, utterly rejects it.
It's such a powerful counter-narrative to our modern horror films.
Yeah.
But our sources also delve into some other mythological beings. Not to distract, but maybe to really sharpen our understanding of what makes a zombie different in these theological views.
Like a succubi and incubi you mentioned.
Exactly. We're talking about succubi and incubi. How do these differ from zombies, especially since they're often portrayed as existing outside the traditional life-death cycle? Are they undead in a different sense or just something else entirely?
Well, they are an entirely different class of mythological beings. And looking at them really underscores the unique rejection of the zombie concept we've been discussing.
Oh.
Unlike zombies, which are fundamentally reanimated corpses, succubi and incubi are supernatural entities, often considered demons or spirits. They take on human-like forms to interact with people.
So not dead bodies walking around.
No. These weren't just spooky stories either. They were ways ancient cultures maybe grappled with phenomena like sleep paralysis or unexplained pregnancies, assigning agency to unseen forces rather than random events, which is, again, unlike the mindless zombie.
Right. So a succubus, for instance, that's the female one.
Yes, the female demon in European folklore appears in men's dreams, supposedly to seduce them. The name even comes from the Latin word succuba, meaning to lie beneath.
And what do they supposedly do?
Well, legends say they drain a man's life force, his vitality, and sometimes they could even birth monstrous offspring.
Okay. And the incubus.
That's the male counterpart, preying on sleeping women. That term comes from the Latin incubare, meaning to lie upon.
Right, like pressing down.
Exactly. Legends even claim them as fathers of famous figures like Merlin, and their presence was often used to explain mysterious pregnancies or, terrifying nightmares back in the day.
So what does this all mean for our understanding of the undead broadly, then? If we compare them to zombies, it sounds like intention and soul are the real differentiators here.
Absolutely. These creatures, succubi, incubi, they're portrayed as malevolent spirits or demons. Their interactions are intentional, they're predatory.
They have a purpose, even if it's evil.
Exactly. Aimed at spiritual or physical corruption, which is a stark contrast to the mindless, undirected hunger we typically associate with a zombie. It's not about their physical state, whether they were ever human or not, but about their spiritual essence, their consciousness, their purpose.
So the key distinction is?
Precisely. The key distinction is that succubi and incubi are generally seen as intelligent, purposeful beings, even if that purpose is malevolent. They are not reanimated corpses lacking a soul. They're distinct, supernatural entities with their own will.
They choose to act.
They choose to interact, to influence. That's fundamentally different from a shambling, soulless, uncontrollable, reanimated body.
Wow. Okay. This deep dive has truly unpacked how these theological frameworks from Islam, Christianity, and Hinduism just completely dismantle the concept of a human zombie.
Yeah, primarily due to their profound understanding of the soul and divinely ordained resurrection or reincarnation.
And we've clearly seen the distinction from other mythological creatures like succubi and incubi, based entirely on their nature, their intent, and whether they possess a soul or consciousness.
It gives you a whole new lens, doesn't it?
It really does. So you now have a whole new lens, maybe, through which to view your next zombie flick or even ancient folklore, seeing these layers of meaning that run so deep.
It offers a rich, layered perspective that goes far beyond just pop culture. It shows how ancient wisdom actually directly addresses questions we often think are purely modern inventions.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought to leave you with. Given these deep theological perspectives, what does it truly mean for something to be alive, dead, or maybe even undead? And how much does our modern understanding of these concepts rely on, perhaps, assumptions rather than this kind of ancient wisdom? Something to mull on until next time.